Welcome to Empowering Plans, a show dedicated to identifying waste and undue expense in the health benefits industry, discovering ways to maximize benefits while minimizing costs, and empowering employers, administrators, and consultants to emphasize, once again, the benefit in benefit plan. Today's episode is brought to you by the FIA Group, empowering plans since 1999. Now here are your hosts, the FIA Group's own CEO, Adam Russo, and Senior Vice President and General Counsel, Ron Peck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Empowering Plans with the FIA Group. I am your co-host, Adam Russo, CEO and co-founder of the FIA Group. As always, I'm here with my great friend, Ron Peck. Say hello, Ron.
Hello, Ron.
And our other co-host, Brady Bizzarro. Say hello, Brady.
Hello, Brady.
Guys, it's a Friday. It was a crazy week. It's the week before the Super Bowl. I guess I was right, Ron. I wasn't sure. I know I said toothpicks that Brady had lost maybe some of the fingers on his hand, but he did have stitches.
Well, I think, Adam, you may have been correct. I think he actually did lose all of his fingers, but thanks to the TB12 method, he grew them back better than before.
In 3 days.
In 3 days. Water, sunshine, and TB12.
I mean, he literally walks like on water, this guy. It's amazing. I mean, who else could have done that in 3 days? It's unbelievable. Anyways, folks, a couple of things we want to share. One, we're really excited to share the fact that we believe we'll be expanding the number of podcasts that we have. It started off once a month. Then it was, you know what, I just like to talk too much, and so does Ron. We're going to do it every 2 weeks. Now, folks, we're thinking about doing this a couple times a week. What do you think about that, guys?
I think this is great. I think the people need to hear from us, Adam.
I'm excited about it, too. I think, it's come a long way.
So one of the things we wanted to add is that we feel that even though you only dial in to listen to us, that maybe once in a while you might want us to interview somebody. So one of the big things that we're looking at doing for 2018, one of our resolutions, is to come up with an action-packed, fun-filled, amazing list of just people who we believe are disruptors, are change agents, are trying to bring something new to the table when it comes to self-funding and your ability to empower plans. So it brings me back to the topic of today, disruptors, and what that means. Folks, I probably don't have to tell you. If you're listening, you know who we are, you know our company. I'm pretty much known as the guy that flies into a conference, shows up about an hour before I have to speak. I do my speech. I shake a couple hands. I give out a couple business cards, and then I leave. That's what I'm known for. I went to a conference this week, and I'm going to give them a plug and a shout-out, called Q4 down in Tampa. And I'm not going to lie. I was there for every session, Ron.
Did you speak in every session?
No.
What?
I was speaking at, I think, 11. I was at the 9 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the 1 o'clock, the 2 o'clock. It was the lineup of people they had was just so amazing. I mean, literally, from Dave Chase talking about his book and some of the stuff that he's doing. Jeff Bernhard, who is, as you all know, runs the TPA Continental down in Florida. Direct primary care was a big discussion. There was a broker who was speaking who challenged other brokers in the room. He basically told them that his goal of his session was to make them feel uneasy. His goal was to make them feel like they weren't doing enough for their clients. I was just like, who are these people? Where are they? How come we don't have them at other conferences? But I have to give it out to the people at Q4. Probably the best one-day lineup of speakers I've heard in my 20-plus years of being in the self-funded space.
You say 1 day because our own event, when we speak, Adam, is usually 2 days.
All right, let's just put our event aside. I'm talking about events that I'm going to.
Oh, Adam, high praise. I've never heard you reference an event in such glowing terms. I've never seen you stick around, and you're still talking about it after the fact. I would tell you, in addition to what I've heard from you, I've also been looking at the social media, LinkedIn, and not only people who attended, but people who heard from people who attended are posting about what they heard and how great it was.
Now, one of the cool things that I noticed is what these guys did, and I don't think it was a budgetary issue. They just know how to use social media. They are change agents, very similar to what we've done. I mean, let's be honest, guys. We're a 200-person firm. Yet our social media platform and the stuff we're doing online through webinars, our podcasts, our Twitter page, our LinkedIn page, you would think we have 2,000 people working here. That is the difference. The entire event, they were doing videos. They were interviewing people. They were immediately posting their links on LinkedIn. They were immediately putting posts on Twitter. They were having links. They were having questions. They had commentary from different folks, all live. It was like almost like streaming as the conference was going on. I believe these are change agents. That's what we're looking for. So a little bit of, I'll share with some of you some of the ideas that came out. You know, when Jeff Bernhardt was out there talking about his TPA and what they're doing, is he the best TPA in the country? I don't know. But all I can tell you is what he said basically was, these are the things that a TPA can bring to the table that you're not going to see with your normal ASO BUCA carrier. And he spelled out not just like your admin fee, but these are actual savings opportunities that you can take advantage of here. And as a former, I guess he was a United guy, as a former executive at United, in 20 years he could never do any of these things that they were able to do now with this TPA. A disruptor in the industry. How to actually offer something to brokers that they otherwise wouldn't be able to have. So direct primary care too. As many of you know, we now have access to direct primary care. I touched on that on Monday as well, about the fact that we pay a small dollar amount per month per employee, and you basically have your own doctor. I know that Ron has taken advantage of that. I have. Brady, have you taken advantage of that as well?
Not yet, but I will.
Oh.
Young and invincible.
I'm young and
Brady
healthy.
is Brady is not a disruptor, Ron. He is not willing to change. He wants to stick to that model of having 6.5 minutes with his primary care physician.
I drink TB12. I don't need the doctor.
You
for
got
that
the
because-
electrolytes?
How about our producer Pat? Is he a Dr. Tremblay user? No as well. Again, what's the problem with these guys? Young,
Young and healthy.
healthy, don't think they need their own doctor, Ron.
You know what? Obviously, they don't think that they are worth preserving. Guys, I disagree. I think you bring value to the world. You bring value to our industry. You should look out for your health, and I insist that you do something about it.
But when I was talking to this gentleman in regards to direct primary care, some of the people in the audience were still, raising their hand, asking like, well, what's the difference between direct primary care and telemedicine? And I'm sitting there going, telemedicine? You mean you pick up the phone and you talk to some random guy or random woman on the phone about your medical problem. You don't even know if it's a doctor. It could be a nurse. Direct primary care this is your own actual doc for anything. He knows you. He knows your history. So I can't imagine you're going to get the same treatment. You're going to get the same feedback from a random person who doesn't know your medical history, doesn't know you personally, as you would from your own doctor who knows your history, knows your life.
Yeah, I think the comparison, Adam, telemedicine is a tool, right? It could be a useful tool, but it's a tool, whereas direct primary care, DPC, is more of a format or method for providing health care. You could use telemedicine with DPC. Your direct primary care can't have you dial them up if it's something small and they take a picture and look at it. So it's part of it. So I don't think that comparing the two is necessarily appropriate from that person in the audience.
At the end of the day, I just have a lot of optimism for our industry as a whole when I can see that there are so many people in this industry that are innovative, that are looking to change the future. Now, you got some people that think that the reason why they're doing this is because they're worried about the whole fiduciary breach, they're worried about the liability piece, but I think it goes beyond that. I don't think you need to scare people straight, like how they used to do that, right? Scare them straight. That they take a bunch of kids who got busted for stealing candy bars at their local 7-Eleven, and they bring them to a prison, right? And they go, listen, you want to end up like me? You want to be in here for 30 years? And they scare these kids straight. I don't think that's really what's happening still. I think there hasn't been enough litigation. There hasn't been any class action yet. There hasn't been enough out there, I believe, to scare brokers straight. There haven't been that many stop-loss carriers who aren't denying claims. I mean, it's out there, but it's sprinkles, right? It's like sprinkles on your ice cream. It's not hot fudge. It's not poured everywhere. But there are still people who realize, guess what? Every year I'm getting a 25% premium hike. This is insane. Something's got to change. Whereas 2 years ago, I would tell you, yeah, people are talking about it. I think we're finally in a world where the future is looked upon as these people are actually making things happen instead of just talking about it. Speaking of the future, Brady, I know you recently, I think yesterday, had the opportunity as part of Saya's event to go down to Dallas, I believe. Can you share with us your thoughts and what happened and just what the purpose was of this and, what you think is going to happen in our industry because of this?
Sure. So before I start, Adam, I have to remind everyone here that in the last podcast, I was given the honor of making a prediction about whether or not the government would shut down. I have to just come back and say that I was right. We did shut down. It was only for 3 days, but you know what? I still got the W on that one.
So the government shuts down parks, services unavailable to us hardworking tax-paying Americans, and you're taking a victory lap?
So now you're 1-15.
I'm 1-15. So my record's slowly getting better over time. But I can tell
Are
you,
you at the 500 mark yet? No.
not yet.
Is that
not
right?
Yet, not yet.
Okay.
But
just
you know
making
what?
sure.
What is
Will
the 500
the government
mark?
shut down again?
Oh boy, February 8th, right? No, I think we're gonna avert that one. I think we're gonna stay
All
open
right.
for
So
that.
there's another prediction. Wow, that's tough.
So
Is the sun gonna rise tomorrow?
I hope so. That one's gonna hopefully come true. But looking toward the future is important, and that's exactly what we did at the conference in Dallas with Saya. It was very successful. It was actually very refreshing to be in a room full of people.
So
in
can you
our
tell
age
everyone what?
bracket.
Can you tell everyone what was the purpose?
I
of this
didn't
actual
get an
event?
invitation to this. Why was I
Ron,
not
I think you
invited?
just missed the cutoff. I think the purpose, honestly, from what I gathered, is that there's a realization in the industry that, hey, we're not getting any younger, and we need to look to the minor leagues and see who's there to back us up. Who has the new ideas? Who are the next innovative leaders? Who are the next emerging leaders? Who can we look to sort of carry the torch? And I think, frankly, what was realized that hasn't really been done enough. And so the goal of this meeting was to really get everyone in a room together from the big members of Saya and just discuss some ideas about how to get our names out there. What can
So what is
Saya
the name of this conference? You haven't told us that yet.
So it's funny you asked that because we did not resolve the name of our group after all this. It was the Young Professional Conference is sort of the name, but we need a name to, some people were like, well, what does young mean? How do we define young? Is it an idea? Is it actually
Young
an
at
age
heart?
bracket? Young at heart.
Do you have to
Then,
actually get a
then Ron
physical?
would have been invited if it was young at heart.
Like
I'll
Tom
give you that.
Brady is a young professional. I'm assuming.
yeah.
I mean, the guy's
Come on.
40, but his body of
never
an
ages.
18-year-old.
He's gonna live to 200, so.
I think this is more about ideas. We want to know from the young people in our industry who are up and coming, who've had success. What are their ideas for growing our industry with more young professionals? And so we identified. We had a long list of things that we want to see get done in the short term and the long term. But we made some sort of like top 10 lists, and I think a lot of it is more interaction on social media, making a group of young professionals that we can network with and interact with. One idea we had too was podcasts, building off our own success, just different ways to reach out to young people.
Hold on a second. So you're telling me that one of the ideas that you guys had, that you came up with, was to have podcasts that compete directly with our podcast.
Well,
Ron, can you believe this?
Maybe it's more like a simulcast. Ours is the English version, and the Saya one will be in Spanish.
I like
the telecast.
that. I like that.
On Telemundo.
Telemundo.
The truth
ESPN
is,
Ocho.
though, the truth is that that's a great way to reach young people. That's what you listen to if you're young. You're at the gym, you're driving to work, you got a podcast on. So the format works. People liked it. They also, think about doing it maybe quarterly, but that's one of the ideas. More long-term things is how do we get young people to get to these conferences? So perhaps Saya would offer some kind of a discount to get more people to go. Because frankly, the words I kept hearing were, pale and stale and male. And they're
Pale, stale male.
Right,
That is basically this room, except for me. I'm the only one with the tan. It just seems to always be that way.
That is true. So they're looking for ways to overcome that, and it was refreshing to see the new young faces there. And so maybe we even might get an app for people's phones we could use to connect with. But there's a lot of good ideas out there, a lot of energy, a lot of innovation, and I think we're going to have some follow-up meetings and to discuss the ideas further as we go along in the year.
So for those of you listening, the purpose of what we're trying to bring to the table at SAI is that this is a young professionals movement. How do we get those millennials interested in self-funding, but not only interested in working in the self-funding industry, but then being engaged, becoming leaders within the industry? Because as you said, if you go to a national conference at SAI, if you go to a NAHU event, National Association of Health Underwriters, again, for the most part, it's old white guys. I mean, that's what it is. And as these people retire, there aren't those people below them that are going to take on those reins, that are going to innovate. We need more disruptors. We need more change agents. We need more people who are thinking outside the box because, let's face it, if you're 50 years old and you've been in this industry for 30 years, your whole mindset is based on discounts. Your whole mindset is based on buffet. One of the great things I learned this week was our industry, the idea of networks and the idea of access to hospitals basically is a buffet. When you go to a buffet, when you go to Vegas to a buffet line, what do you see? People literally pile everything on their plates. Half the stuff they won't even eat, but they just want that plate with everything on it. Even if they're allergic to something, they're still putting it on their plate. Versus what are they picking out if they actually knew that they had to pay for each individual thing? If they know it's all available and it's all a $20 copay, their mindset as consumers is very different than if they're picking out everything they want and they're paying for it by the actual thing that they're buying. I thought that was an amazing graphic that one of the gentlemen at the presentation earlier this week had. Is that really is our mentality? When you have a health plan where everything's a buffet, you don't really appreciate the ribs as much as if you actually have to pay for just the ribs on their own.
That's true. You know, when I'm at the buffet, Adam, I don't even pick out the food I actually want. I just try to figure out which is the most expensive because it becomes a game. I've already paid for it. Now I want to win. That's my attitude when I go there. Make sure you skip the carbs and go straight for the lobster.
I agree with that one. So it's funny you say that, Adam, because one of the questions we asked at the conference was, what gets people interested in the industry and involved? And someone asked the question, well, who here loves insurance? And I think one hand went up. It was sort of weird. But the question I said,
was it your hand?
It was not my hand. No, I promise.
So you don't love insurance?
So wait, there's a spin on this. Let me get to the
He
punch.
is
The
a
punchline.
Ron, I think we might have to make him Cousin Oliver again. He has just told us he does not love insurance.
He's in the hole, but he still has the
I can
shovel.
redeem
Let's see what
myself.
can
I
happen.
think.
All right, dig himself out. Let's
So
go.
what I said was that the insurance in general just sounds sort of boring and lame without people care about healthcare. Health insurance, sure, but they're passionate about the cost of healthcare, about getting working families to be able to afford healthcare, about having good options. And so when you ask young people what they care about, say, do you care about being able to afford healthcare? Do you care about access and quality of care? Don't say, do you care about insurance?
Really quick point. It's actually interesting you bring that up. Just today, they posted an article that I had written for Money Inc. about how self-funded employers and self-funded plans are in a good position to keep low-risk lives by offering really good benefits. With the loss of the individual mandate, it's really going to hurt insurance. But if you make something that's valuable to people, they'll stick with it even if they don't have to. And they posted it on Facebook. The FIA group, we posted it on our Facebook page. Right away, somebody posted a scathing comment about how the big insurance carriers are lining their pockets and that the individual mandate was corruption and it was forcing people to purchase insurance they didn't need just so that fat cats can make all this money. And we responded, I hope with respect, because at least this was a passionate person sharing their opinion on our page, that please reread the article and understand the difference between self-funding health benefits and insurance, and that Ron, myself, the author, I'm actually saying insurance is a problem. I agree with you, and that self-funding is the opposite. That
it's
we're
a
not,
solution.
We're not forcing
Right.
people
Solution.
to line anybody's pocket. That people are putting in money that they in turn are going to get value from. And after we brought to this person's attention the difference between insurance and self-funded benefits, he came back and apologized and said the title was a little misleading. I apologize. Self-funding may indeed be a solution. So I think, and we looked at, and this person is a little bit younger and maybe is not necessarily aware.
Why don't we bring this person in and interview them?
Sure,
That's interesting.
Let's do a complete 180. I think one of the big issues, Brady, and you just touched on it, is the fact that that term insurance, it carries with it a certain connotation that I don't think self-funded benefits.
I hate the
are
word.
insurance.
Definitely.
I hate it too.
I don't like Saya's title. Again, as someone who's going to be the 2019 chairman of the board at Saya, I don't like our name. I think self-insurance, it's the word itself just doesn't make any sense. What's self-insurance? That means you don't have any insurance. I mean, that's the whole point. If you're self-funding, that's different. So I think we have to make it more of it has to be a sexier term. It's risk aversion. It's identifying risk, finding ways to lessen that risk. That's really what we're doing as an industry is how do we get the most bang for our buck? And obviously the buffet line isn't the way to do so. Guys, that's all the time we got for today. I think it was a great, informative discussion. Folks, it's January. 2018 really looks like a positive year for our industry, and I'm really happy that Brady had such great information and great news in regards to the great feedback we had yesterday in Dallas in regards to the young professionals movement within Saya. So, folks, on behalf of Ron, Brady, Pat Santos, and myself, thank you so much. Have a great day, and continue empowering your plans.